Willie J. Williams Middle School Data Overview, presented by HBrown. The purpose of this presentation is to present an overview of Willie J. Williams Middle School data. The presentation will include demographic information as well as test scores for the past 3 years. Strengths and weaknesses will also be highlighted during the presentation. The first graph we have for you is the school demographics for the past 3 years. If you will notice, the total enrollment has increased from 2011 to 2014, going from 1,347 students to 1,387 students. What we have done is we have a breakdown based on the race of the students for the past 3 years. From 2012 to this past year, there has been an increase in the Hispanic population, while there was a decrease with the white and the African American population. Willie J. Williams School Profile Data. Approximately 75% of the school population is economically disadvantaged students. Approximately 21.5% of the students are served by the gifted program. 15.9% of the students are served through special education, and approximately 7.2% of students qualify for English Language Learner or the EL services, and this is based on the data from 2014. Next, we have the student achievement data for 6th grade. This is the percentage of students who met or exceeded standards on the CRCT, and what we have done is we have all 3 years, and we have them broken down into the subjects. And if you notice, there was an increase in 3 of the subjects for this past year, and the highest percentage being social studies. Next, we have the student achievement data for the 7th grade, and this is the percentage of students who met or exceeded standards on the CRCT. This is also the past 3 years, and if you will notice, each subject had a decrease this past year in every subject. Next, we're going to look at the school and state comparison. This is for the 6th grade CRCT scores for 2014, and we have them labeled with Willie J. Williams being first and the state being next. If you look at the reading, you will see that we had a 35% exceed in reading, but the state had 50%, so we're low there. Based on the kids that did not meet, they're right there together. We are pretty much behind what the state has in almost every subject. So you can look at that and see that even in math, we had 24% that did not meet, while the state only had 16%. 7th grade was pretty much the same way. This is the Willie J. Williams and the state comparison for 7th grade. Overall, the state had more to exceed than we did, and they also had less that did not meet when comparing Willie J. Williams and the state. So also there we're behind. Next, we have the content area strength and weaknesses. Our strengths: reading is a strength in both 6th and 7th grade. 90% or more students have met or exceeded each of the 3 years recorded. Also, language arts is a strength in both 6th and 7th grade. 86% or more students have met or exceeded each of the 3 years recorded. Our weaknesses: science has been a weakness in 6th grade for the past 3 years. The students that met or exceeded for the first year for 2011-2012 was 72%. For 2013 from 2012 to 2013 was 65%, and this past year was 71%. Math has also been a weakness for 6th grade for the past 3 years. 2012 was 79%, 2013 was 75%, and 2014 was 74%. So you will notice that with science, there was a decrease from the first year to the second year, but then the third year there was an increase, as with math, there's been a steady decrease the past 3 years. Alright, the next slide we have the math subgroups for the math CRCT, and these are the students who met or exceeded standards on the CRCT, and this is also looking at the 3-year gap. If you will notice, the only group to increase from 2012 to this past year was a Hispanic group, and if you will look, they actually increased from 2012 to 2013 and stayed pretty much the same percentage the next year. The rest of the subgroups actually decreased from 2012 to where we currently are this past year in 2014. So there's a pretty big gap there, and you'll notice that even the whole student, all the students, they had close to an 80% pass, and the past 3 years that has decreased to about a 75% pass. Alright, the next slide we have the math subgroup for 6th grade again, and this is meeting or exceeding standards on the CRCT. We have two different graphs here. On the left, we have a breakdown of the African American race, the Hispanic race, and the white race. And you will see that the past from 2012 to 2014, the white and Hispanic race has actually stayed pretty steady, while the African American race has went down. And if you'll look at the graph to the right, we have all students and a breakdown of students with disabilities and EL services, or that receive EL services. And from 2012 to 2013, all three groups had a decrease and either stayed pretty much where they were the next year or had a little bit of an increase. But you'll notice the big dip from 2012 to 2013. The next slide we have the science subgroup for 6th grade also, and this is meeting or exceeding on the standards for CRCT, and this is also the past 3 years. The only group that actually did not have much of a change from 2012 to 2014 was the white subgroup. They did decrease a little from 12 to 13, and then from 13 to 14 they increased a little bit more. But if you will notice, with the EL group, there was a huge decrease from 12 to 13, and then a huge increase from 13 to 14. The biggest gap where there was a decrease was with the students with disabilities. The first year in 2012, they were almost at a 40%, and from there it went down to about a 31%, and then down to about a 28% pass rate. So there were pretty much in all those groups, or in the rest of the groups, there was fluctuation from where they decreased from 12 to 13, and then there was an increase back to 2014. All right, we also had a breakdown for the subgroups, and again I have the two graphs, and you'll notice the first one is by ethnic groups, and then the second one is looking at subgroups. Notice there was an increase in the Hispanics from 13 to 14, and also an increase in the African Americans from 13 to 14. The white ethnic group pretty much stayed where they were. There was a little bit of fluctuation, up and down. If you will look at the graph on the right, the EL group really had a decrease from 12 to 13, and then a huge increase back up to 2014. And you'll see how that compares to all the students in the school. Alright, next we're looking at to see which one was our weakest subject. Was it 6th grade math or was it 6th grade science? Both 6th grade math and 6th grade science are areas of weakness. Based on the data, our focus will be on 6th grade math due to the fact that the meet and exceeds percentages have declined each year. Alright, next we have the 6th grade mathematics by domain. And what we have done is we went through, for the total number of students that were in 6th grade, we went through and broke down how many students met or exceeded or did not meet in each domain. And for the 6th grade math test, there's 4 domains. There's number and operations, measurement, algebra, and data analysis and probability. And you can see that the highest number of students that did not meet in one of the domains was data analysis and probability. You're looking at 277 students that did not meet, 286 students that did meet, and only 57 to exceed in that certain domain. Number and operations and algebra were pretty close, and measurement was not far behind data analysis and probability, because there was 193 that did not meet, with only 90 to exceed. Alright, the observations for 6th grade math domains on the CRCT data for Williams Middle School for this past year, the domains of number and operations and algebra are relative strengths in 6th grade mathematics. Measurement is a weaker domain, but data analysis and probability is the weakest area in 6th grade mathematics based on the 2014 CRCT scores. What can we do? First thing we can do is figure out what strategies 6th grade math teachers can use to increase performance on the data analysis and probability domain. We can also figure out what strengths 6th grade math teachers can use to increase performance on the measurement domain. Also, we need to find out what strategies 6th grade math teachers are using in number and operations and adapt that to the data analysis and probability. Thank you for listening to my presentation.